You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And Shannon G and Mesa AZ.
And we would like to once again welcome you to the Park Flyer Podcast. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go on there and do so. And if you haven't joined our Facebook listeners group, you can do that as well. So we always appreciate your patronage, and it's been an exciting week for some of us. We're just going to kind of recap our last weekend. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. So I want to wish everybody did good, and they're all in their turkey comas. And then
I'm amazed I'm awake right now.
Yeah, there you go. And then so I figured we had the jet rally last weekend, and so or I guess 2 weekends ago.
2 weekends ago.
Yeah, and then and we can just kind of go over what happened there. But it was Can
I say one
3-day event?
Can I say one thing first? To quote Tolstoy, "It was the best of times. It was the worst.
It was the worst of times."
We'll get to that.
That is true.
Yeah.
It was the best of times. It was the worst times. That is good. Yes, that is actually very, very, very true. 35th annual jet rally. Everybody got a bag that had some really cool stuff in it. So I think maybe in the last podcast we mentioned that there were some 3D printed turbine engines in there, which were very, very funny. Actually, mine's sitting on, I think mine's on the other side of the room. I should have brought it over, but they're very, very cool. And he did a good job. It looks just like a little turbine, and everybody kind of got a different one, kind of different manufacturer, but he did a really, really good job.
When I tried to fire mine up, it melted.
We had a lot of stuff in our bags. He did give us a warning. He did give us a warning that there were some heat restrictions. So, it was pretty fun. They were big enough to fit in your hands, so it wasn't like a little tiny thing. It was probably about 5 inches wide.
They're full size. I mean, they're for like fitting in.
Fairly big. Yeah. They were like a P80, So, but it was funny, and everybody kind of enjoyed it. I have to give a shout out to Hyperion. They had a bunch of stuff in the bags from those guys. Everything from extensions to battery leads to all different types of stuff. So he did a good job. Every bag was full of tchotchke stuff and just freebie giveaways. So the registration went well. There was quite a few pilots there. See Shannon, we went, what was that? Friday. We showed up Friday.
I was
were you there on Thursday? All right. So give us a recap on Thursday. What did you guys do on Thursday? Anything
Thursday
spectacular happened on Thursday?
Surprisingly busy. I mean, there was a lot of the out-of-towners had already come and set up their RVs, and it was just nonstop. I mean, there were planes in the air. The weather was beautiful on that day, and just everyone getting kind of caught up and things set up. I was still helping to kind of set up with the raffle because I was the assistant CD, and if you didn't know that, but I was doing all that stuff and getting everything working. We had power. We had trouble with the power again. Someone had flipped on some of the breakers that they weren't supposed to. I don't know who did that because I had that thing set up just right, and all of a sudden it starts popping things left and right. So other than that, it was great weather. Got some flights in, and just had everything ready to really get started for the big Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday. So talk about Sunday too.
Yeah. That's true. I forgot about that. I was already working by then. Well, I actually came home Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah, it was either Wednesday or Thursday night, but I was trying to, it must have been Thursday. I came home Thursday and started trying to pack, and it was getting dark outside. So I was like throwing everything in my trailer and trying to get everything ready. And Barry, of course, was going with us. So he was on his end of the town, and he was, telling me to get everything. And so we were trying to load it all up. So I got up early, 5 o'clock on that Friday morning, jumped in the truck, grabbed breakfast, something to drink on the way out, and was headed out. And so I was already on the freeway. Barry and I called each other, and he's like, "Okay, you got everything?" I said, "Yeah, I've got." Because you got the wings. I said, "Yeah." Radio, yes. You got all of your turbine stuff. I was like, "Yeah." Oil, gas, yep. Got it all. And showed up at the field around 7:30 or so. Met up with Shannon. Opened my trailer. First thing I noticed was the wings to the L-39 are no longer in the trailer. They're actually sitting. Well, now they're on my table, but they were sitting over by the door, along with a couple other items that I should have brought. So that was kind of disheartening. I know, right? But the good news is I had my Sparrow. I'd flown it at Best in the West and had everything in the trailer for that, and so we were pretty excited. And so I unloaded it, got it all together, and we needed some work done on the turbine. Needed a new update, but I knew that I could fly it the way it was because I flew it at the Jet Rally, and so we waited till Barry got there. He put his stuff together, and then it was a beautiful day.
Friday was great.
On Friday. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, everybody was flying. There was no real long line. Everybody was doing pretty well. Like to watch everyone, and then you'd kind of walk up, and you may have to wait for 5 minutes until somebody landed. But then we had about 4 pilots. The pilot meeting went really well. Everybody was real supportive, and
it didn't break out in fist fights.
No, none of that really. But but it was great. They had we had a different coffee vendor though.
No, that was the same one. She
else,
rebranded.
Sisu?
Yeah, she rebranded.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, she rebranded. Oh, okay.
I think I told you the.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I told you. I told you there's a story, but I can't tell it on air as to why they rebranded.
Oh, okay. Okay, well,
no,
anyway,
what a tease.
She was out there. We, right? I know, right? But the coffee vendor was out, and then we had a hot dog vendor.
Yeah.
They were new, yeah, and they were out there. So they kind of showed up, and then we started flying. I mean, we had a really good day. Barry flew a couple times. I flew once or twice, and then everybody got some really
we had
good
a jet
flights.
gaggle. We had an EDF
there
gaggle.
Some
remember?
Really.
Yeah.
Yep, had EDF gaggle. Oh, that's right, we did. It was so you have
the AL-37 done up as the P8 Poseidon. Yep.
Right. So it's done up as the Poseidon. And so he starts going out. He says to me, "Hey, would you spot?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I'm walking out with him. And about that time, there's another guy down this, I can't remember his name, but he's down a couple of spots, and he's got a B-2 bomber. So he comes walking up, and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I join you guys?" And we're like, "Oh, hey, that'd be great, B-2 bomber." And then I've got my A-10 there. So I'm like, "Oh, well, shoot, I should fly my A-10." So I went and fired that up and brought it over. So now we've got 3 EDFs. We've got the Poseidon and the A-10. And so we all decided, the Poseidon's going to fly around in the middle, and then the B-2 will be up high, and then I'll just fly in the weeds, right? And it worked out great. I was really happy with the way it worked out. And it was a really, really fun time.
Did anybody get a picture of that so I can do an insert picture here?
Maybe.
They did. I don't know who was taking that picture.
Somebody there's a guy named Roger that I'm actually I had a conversation with him this morning on text. He's going to be getting them to me as soon as he can. He's like sorting through all the photos. He shot like 1,000, and he's narrowed it down to like 100.
Oh, okay.
So, he said a lot of it was just junk, but he said he got solid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened sometimes. Barry's the same way. He'll take 4,000 photos and only use 80.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is when you're working digital. But it was very cool. We did try to get close enough where we could get all 3 of us in the same shot. But being high, medium, and low.
We might have. I think there was one good shot we got together, if I remember, towards the end.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I think. Yeah. But it worked good, and then somebody challenged us to all land together or something. I think. And so I was like, "Yeah, I can do that," but I think we just landed one after another, so we didn't really land in formation. But they were, kind of prodding us on, and it was towards the end of the day. It was pretty fun, but other than that, it was a great time. Let's see, was there any really spectacular aircraft other than the Super Bandit that Patrick was flying? That thing is just
George
ship.
His BBM collection, he flies that F-16 pretty amazing.
That's true. The F-16 flew
he's
really
just
really
rock
well.
solid on the sticks. The guy that has all the free wings that are converted to turbines. That guy cracks me up. He had the Typhoon. He had the F-22.
Yep.
That one, I'm like, that's right.
Actually, that was first. That was somebody else's, I think.
Okay, there was a couple guys.
Yeah, that was a different guy.
So it's cool, because this Jet Rally, we have some. Currently, we had some restrictions on aircraft size, but if you have a turbine, anything can fly. So you can have a, Mighty Might, airplane, but if you got a turbine, it'll fly. We don't care. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, they were pretty cool. These little free wing airplanes were kind of, cruising around. Both of them looked really well. The guy that had the, I can't remember his name either, but the guy that had the F-22 was just ripping through the air. That thing, he was doing these real tight circles or loops where he would just turn inside himself and then just pull it up into this little falling leaf and then punch out with that turbine.
I swear he had thrust vectoring.
Crazy
that's how he was flying.
Amazing.
But it was he was
yes,
dialed
you would.
in, though.
Yeah, you really thought you did. It was. He did a good job. The F-16 looked good. Barry flew his BDX. The Horizon guys were there. They did a little show that looked pretty good too. They were flying around with their BDX. There was a bunch of them that had the EMB. Yeah, the MB.
Yeah.
339s. That's it. Yeah, and those all look good too. About the only mishap we had on Friday was the guy that kind of landed and then kind of tracked over and hit the fence.
Yeah.
That was it. So he, that's right. And but
his
that was really the only
or something.
I don't know. I don't think his steering wheel. I think he
came in hot.
Came in that way, right?
Yeah, he just didn't have the control once he kind of got on the ground.
If you're going too fast and you really jam on the front wheel, it makes that turn. It doesn't really grip. It just spins, and I think that's what happened. He went to turn and it started skidding, and then because the wheel was turned and skid, it just caused it to kind of just slide right into the fence. It did hit the fence pretty hard, though. It did some major damage to his wing, but the rest of the airplane was recoverable. It just kind of wingtip ripped off, and it kind of dented kind of damaged the front. And those are balsa wood.
Ventura offered to fix it for him, and then when he went through in, he said the wood was just split all the way through the wing, so it was like, it was terminal for that wing. So bye.
But I think that particular kit you can get another
spares,
so he should be
not cheap. Yeah, they have spares.
Yeah, he should be able to get back in there. Yeah, no, I hear you. No.
Keyword.
Well, I'm in the same boat. My Skymaster L39 had a wing issue, and I ordered a new set for them too. So it's you're right. It's not cheap, but it sure makes it easy. You don't have to worry about fixing too much stuff. Friday night everything went great. We had the pizza party, and that was really good. The pizza was great, and we had a lot of good conversations. Everybody kind of hung out, and they had a night fly. I think.
I don't think anybody flew,
but I didn't stick around for that. I had something with my granddaughter.
No.
What's that? Did you fly?
Did. We kind of like said, hey, you can fly it, but just no one was ready. So and the wind kind of picked up a little bit too.
Yeah, I don't know. It did. The wind did kind of pick up. I think a lot of people were nervous because they were talking about the weather on Saturday was supposed to rain, until like noon or 1 or whatever. And I had to watch my granddaughter. My kid's birthday is this month, and they were going out to do something for his birthday. And so I was watching my granddaughter, and so I left my trailer and everything there. And I was like, I'll just come back and get it in the morning and go fly or do whatever. So, we kind of wound up, that night, and everybody kind of left. And then the next morning I showed up. It was nice. There was no wind. A couple people went out and flew, and then Shannon and I were standing there talking, and I just got my airplane, out and put together, and had to go to the restroom. And as I was standing in the little porta potty, I could hear it started rain, and I'm all like, oh no, so I run back over there. Shannon's nice enough. He rolled my Sparrow underneath the Ramada there and kept it out of the rain. But he and I were both hanging on, the wind picked up, so we're hanging on this little, canopy cover that he had put up, and we're just kind of like a bunch of monkeys hanging on it, and got our chairs out.
Oh, and you can't bolt it down, right? Because you got,
he had
asphalt.
Yeah, he had it like bungeed to the table,
and I had weights on it too, but they're not enough for that gust. So
yeah, not enough. Oh, that was the other thing too, is that I actually bought new chairs for the Electric Festival that looked just like Shannon's, because I like Shannon's and we were always using them, and so I found them. He told me where to get them, and so I found some and I bought them, and they were sitting next to the L39 wings on Friday when I left the house. So I got there, both Barry and I forgot our chairs. So we're just kind of standing there looking at each other like, oh, great, we get to stand the whole time, So we kept sneaking turns in Shannon's chairs until Shannon came back over and chopped back out. So Saturday I was smart. I brought them, but now it's raining, so they're getting wet. But it was the wind pushed through. It was weird. The rain shower pushed through, and then it was like beautiful.
We had two rain showers because there was kind of like another one popped through, but that one was like really, really short, so it wasn't that big a deal. But yeah, I think everyone was just kind of
it was pretty short.
So did you bring your wings from the other day, Mike?
I didn't. No, because I had the Sparrow out there already, and it was flying it, and I just thought, I only had till noon because I had to work on Saturday night, and so I only had a short amount of time. And so I told Shannon, I was like, I can't stay all day. I had to leave about 1:00 so I could get all the way back up to my house, get unpacked, and get ready for work and leave for work. But so I told Shannon, I was like, well, I'll be here early in the morning, and then I got to go by noon, so I'm only going to be here by noon.
Oh, so you were going out to work on Saturday. I thought you were
Saturday
typically
night.
Usually when you're leaving, when you're going to work, that means you're leaving to be there for the that day, which you had said Sunday. So I was like, oh, you're leaving Sunday because you got to work on Monday. You know what I mean?
Oh,
no. That's usually how when you lead and you go, hey, I'm leaving. I have to leave by this time. It's because you get the next day is when you have to be somewhere.
Right. No. That it's changed now. I'm actually based here in Phoenix, so now all my flights originate out of Phoenix. So when I say I have to go to work, I literally have to drive the airport and fly somewhere.
Okay, that's okay. My brain's working on the old,
no more deadheading.
You were always, I got to go to work.
Wow.
So I.
Yeah, no more.
I got a deadhead
getting
to wherever
into position
because I'm, my station locale's in New York City or it's in New Jersey or it's whatever. I keep forgetting you're stationed right out of Phoenix now.
Yeah, no, now I'm right here, so it works out. But no, I I flew. Everybody kind of flew, that morning between the two rain showers. I got a really good flight in. There was another guy there. He was building a Sparrow, and so he was really interested in mine, and he kept coming over looking at it and asked me about it. And his is almost ready. He's right to the point where he's ready to kind of button it all up and go test fly it. And so he was really interested in watching mine fly. And so we flew probably 3 or 4 times, that weekend, and got it all kind of dialed in and was having a good time with it. And Barry was supposed to come on Saturday, but it was raining at his house, and he said by the time he figured out it wasn't raining here, and that it was like 10 or 11 o'clock, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm only here for about another 2 hours, and he's like, well, it's going to take me that long to get down. So he opted not to come on Saturday. So it was just me and Shannon and all the guys we were hanging out with on Saturday. And so the Bad Boys RC guys were there, and they had been tweaking on my turbine to kind of get it all, settled in, and they had up some voltage on the pumps and got it all where it was running, and I guess I didn't kind of mention this, but when I left the Best in the West, I forgot to unplug my batteries. So when I got to
safety
the
tip of the
rally,
day, kids.
Well, no, I mean, it was no big deal. But when I got to the jet rally, I realized that both of my ECU batteries were dead. So, I mean, I tried to recover them, and I did recover one, but it was one flight and it was done. So I had a new one here. And so on Friday night, when I came back home, I scooped it up, picked it up, and then I drove back on Saturday. I had this brand new battery. So I charged my battery, which is why I didn't fly during the right away. And so once it got charged, I put it all in the Sparrow, went and flew it. Everything worked great. Engine fired right up. Everybody came out. They're like, oh, this is perfect. So around noonish or so, we had the awards. And Shannon and I were sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do the awards. We need all the pilots over here." And Shannon and I looked at each other, and I go, "Oh man, I just got to sit down. I feel comfortable in this nice big chair." I was like, "I don't want to get up. I never win an award." And Shannon goes, "Yeah, me neither." So then I was like, "Well, I guess we better get up." So we get up and we walk over there, and first award, Shannon Gallagher. So Shannon wins an award.
God goes wild.
Yeah.
So tell them what you won.
Awards, and I won the best electric jet for my P8 Poseidon, and I was in shock.
Isn't that amazing?
And so I'm on a roll. So I actually.
Yep, that sounds like an insert
well, I just got my
here
trophy
moment.
for Scale Masters finally.
Right.
That because remember I said I got shorted on my trophy. They just gave me that this past week, and then so I win this, and
that's funny.
There was no other plane like that. Every other plane that was EDF was either the L39 like that I fly, a couple of those, a couple of free wings, but I'd spent so much time, detailing that thing and painting it and everything that it paid off. So, and I flew it a couple times, and so I'm really happy. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and it looked great. It looks great in the air. He did a really good job. Yeah, it does look very, very amazing. And so so we got a picture of him with his airplane in the award, and that was kind of cool. And they gave out a couple other ones.
George Kraling won
best turbine and best.
Was the best scale flight, I think is what he won, if I remember. And then who was the other person? Jerry McCurdy won for something, and then what was the other one? I don't remember, but there's I have it somewhere, but actually I'm supposed to post it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
I have it written down somewhere, but I turned all my stuff off. So, but it'll come to me. It'll just jump into my head.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah. So it was. I was excited for him. Because we just made this little funny comment that we never win anything, and then they call his name and he made it very clear that they did not choose. They were actually people that they said, hey, go out and figure this out. And so it was totally random. We don't know who was the ones, but it wasn't the staff.
It was. I didn't pick myself.
So. Some people to go do it. So so it was great. But it was a fun time, and so we got the awards done, and the weather had cleared by then. Everybody was kind of doing real well. They were flying. The line was getting long, and I had just refueled my Sparrow. So I told Shannon, I said, "Man, I gotta go, but you know what? One more flight." Now, I will tell you, in my many years of living on this planet, when anything major happens to me in my life, it always follows, let me just go out one more time.
I was about to say, jinx, but wow.
I mean, whether it's riding motorcycles, let me just go one more time around the track, break my leg, right? Jay and I go, hey, let's just go one more flight, boom, shot of the airplane, let me just jump on the boat one more time, or just go down the ski lift. Hey, I'm out skiing with my brother-in-law. I'm just going to do one more run, tear up my knee. So it never fails. At that point, next time Shannon needs to say, hey, no, just call it even, right? But he didn't. He's like, oh yeah, okay. So
we need content
on Shannon. Yeah, exactly. So believe it or not, it was quite surprising. I pushed my airplane out to the line. I was talking to one of the guys. We were talking about something or another, and I turned around and they're like, "Hey, are you ready?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my turn." Well, I went out there, and as I was firing it up, the 4 guys in the air all called landing, and they all came and landed. So it was literally just going to be me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's fabulous," So Shannon said he would spot for me. So Shannon and I walked over there, and I got into the pilot box, and there's a young kid. His name's Patrick. He's about 19 years old. He's a fabulous flyer. He's got a high-speed Super Bandit that's just phenomenal. He's had it for years. And he says to me, hey, do you mind if I fly with you? Because he flies really super fast, and he does a lot of low-level stuff, and he flies full throttle. And some guys, I'm going to be honest, some guys are not comfortable having him come screaming by at these high speeds. And when I was at Best in the West, we flew together. So I told him, I don't care. I've got Shannon to watch for you, so I can get out of your way. It's not like I'm, a new pilot. I've flown in a crowd and I've flown formation with guys. So I was comfortable with it and said, yeah, no problem. He said, all right, fine. So he fires up behind me and I took off. And, of course, I ratcheted around one time and he takes off behind me. And now we're kind of chasing each other around. And he's, way faster than mine. And, I think he's got a 190 or something in his, and I've got a 140. So his turbine is way faster. And so I chased him around, one or two times, you think, Shannon? And anyway, I was having a hard time keeping up with him, and he uses a lot more area than I do because I was trying to stay within the confines of the airspace, the airport. The runway, and he was kind of going a little further out. But I just kind of did a couple circuits and did a vertical, half Cuban or roll. I did a dairy turn. I was coming downwind, ratcheting around. I did I was going one way, he was coming back the other, and so I did a dairy turn real quick to kind of catch, go the same direction he was, so we weren't opposing each other all the time. And that put me flying upwind from the left side of the runway to the right side of the runway. And I'm on the sticks. I'm straight and level, about 200 feet in the air, maybe. About, just kind of not really super high where you can't see it, but just coming down. Shannon says to me, hey, he's coming down the other direction, right? But he's low. And I said, okay, fine. And I could hear it coming, and we passed each other about midfield, would you say, Shannon? Mm-hmm. Just kind of, I was above him, and he came zipping underneath me. And I thought, okay, well, it's a great time. I'll turn, I'll do another dairy turn, kind of come back around. And as I got to the end of the runway, I started to pitch up to roll out. And yeah, at that point, what I was telling the sticks, what I was telling the airplane to do, the airplane was no longer doing. And I kind of yelled out, this isn't working. Yeah. It's not quite what I said, but it's a family-friendly show. Shannon's like, whoa. And then, it was, the airplane went from wings level to inverted to the nose drop. And it did about one circle, you think, Shannon?
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Just did like it just like a 3/4 turn, and that was it. Now, I will tell you, when it hit the ground, there was a big, huge plume of white smoke, which will come to fruition a little bit later. I know we're kind of running short on time, but that's what Shannon and I both said. Okay, crap, something happened. So Shannon grabs the fire extinguishers, and I grab my radio, and they said, hey, look at your radio, see, how many holds and, fades and everything. It was nothing. It was clean slate, which means the battery had disconnected from, it was no longer attached to the receiver. And so we ran down, we grabbed Rick Paquin was with us, and we ran down to the end of the runway, across the runway, got to the fence. It was literally at the end of the runway, just on the other side of the fence. I was not even past the runway. Yeah.
It wasn't in that nice ravine over there?
Nope. Oh. It was sitting, literally, if you walked across the runway and you got to the fence line, we were trying to figure out, we could almost reach up, well, not quite, but it was almost like you could reach over the fence and pick up the tail of it.
It was 20 feet away.
We were trying to figure out how to hop the fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all right. But it was close enough that it wasn't,
we could see it.
it wasn't like way out where Mike crashed his, right? It was, you could see it as soon as you're walking across the runway, you could see the tail sticking up. But I will tell you that the tail section was visible, but the rest from about the back of the airplane forward was confetti. Literally, there's nothing left of it. Yeah. Wow. So I walked back around. We kind of went through the little gate, and we walked back down there, and the fuel tank holds about 1.2 gallons of gas.
If that,
and we'd only been up for 2 minutes. So when that hit the ground, there was nothing left of the fuel tank. The fuel tank basically exploded. It blew the ends off of it. It blew the middle section out of it. So that big white plume was just vaporized fuel. and there was fuel probably in a 20-foot circle. And of course, everything was covered in diesel fuel, but there were parts. My batteries were, and remember, I told you earlier, this was a brand new battery. I just I just charged it. So that thing, it looks like an accordion, everything could fit, inside your credit card container because it's just, smashed. And it's just disheartening, right? Because I mean, I worked on this thing. You haven't
had a crash like that in like years, dude.
That's what I'm saying. So we collected everything, put everything. There was, I think the gear's salvageable, the servos were salvageable. The turbine was in one piece, and it had a little dent on the bottom part of the screen. So the turbine was in, looked like in fairly decent condition. It was still attached to the tail section. It's just everything from the turbine forward was missing. I mean, literally just vaporized. And so we picked everything up, put it in 2 trash bags. I carried the tail, and we got all the way back. And so now we're kind of sitting there at the table and trying to, take things apart, and guys are coming down there, and everybody's kind of got their opinion about what happened. And so they're like, what happened? What happened? I was like, I don't know. What did you see? Right. So the turbine guys, the Bad Boy RC guys came over, and they said, how'd your turbine fare? And I was like, I don't know, it's probably destroyed. How would I know? And they said, well, so he picks it up and he spins it. And it spins perfectly. Not a rattle, not a scrape, not a nothing, not a grind. It didn't even sound like dirt or anything got in the turbine. It spun just flawlessly. And he looked up at me and he said, your turbine wasn't turning when it hit the ground. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, dude. He said, I'm telling you, if that turbine would have been turning, 2 things would have happened. Number one, you would have had a big fireball because you vaporized all, over a gallon of gas, gallon of diesel fuel. You would have seen a big fireball because the heat coming out of that turbine would have just caught all of that. And
now that you say, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah. And, well, we've seen it. We saw it at Best in the West, and when it hits, you see this big, huge ball. And even though it had rained, the heat coming out of there because of this huge vapor, and I'm saying that this ball of vapor was probably what 6 or 7 foot tall. I mean, it was huge.
Close.
Right. Yeah. I mean, from where we were standing,
we
could see
were
this
worried about
like a big mushroom of white cloud.
I got that water backpack and ran out there with it.
Right. Yeah, but nothing. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to take this apart, but it seems like this thing was not turning when it hit, because if it's spinning at 60,000 revolutions a minute and you hit the ground and come to a stop, you were going to bend a blade or, ding your bearings are going to shatter something. And if I got something in there, you would hear it grinding if there was dirt or something, going into it. But if it's not turning at all and it hits the ground, it's like you dropped it. So he's like, yeah, I'll take it. He goes, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this thing. So several other people came and said the same thing. They were like, hey man, why wasn't there a big fireball? Was your turbine on? And I go, I don't know. The guys were saying they weren't, that wasn't on. So once we kind of started figuring that out, one of the guys came over and said, hey, I saw it from a whole different angle and it looked like a servo, like you had a servo do something it shouldn't have. That's what caused the roll inverted. And he said, I think it was a lockout on your radio.
But how would that stop your turbine? I mean, doesn't that mean that your ECU battery has to get disconnected or fail?
Now remember the ECU. No, the ECU gets its signal from the receiver. The battery powers it and powers the pump. But the ECU signal, remember, I mean, when you start a turbine and you go forward on it, in order to shut it off, you just go back to, your trim down and it shuts everything off. So if I lost total signal to the ECU, it's not telling the ECU where my throttle is. So it doesn't know how much fuel to put in and it doesn't run the pump, right? So, even though I had electricity,
it still takes a wind down for the motor to shut off and just wind down, doesn't it? It doesn't shut off immediately. It takes a while. And it sounds like you flew for a little while.
Right. And normally if you have a flame out,
instantaneous, like 5 minutes, like 5 seconds, and then you were in the ground.
No, it was fairly instantaneous.
Wasn't 5 seconds? I don't know.
I mean, do you remember? Was it? Because it sounded like it was like a slow the way you described the story, once again, I wasn't there, but the way you described it it sounded like, hey, something was going on. The plane was doing something it shouldn't. You voiced it, and then it went in. So that might have taken, 20 seconds or longer.
You still had control
for that whole episode, or did this all happen
like a servo like overloaded and maybe shut everything off and then just stuck in that position? That's kind of what I'm not an expert, obviously. I'm not with the NTSB, but it just from all the crashes I've seen, especially with jet turbines and EDFs, it just seemed like something electronic, froze and shut everything off. And you could have had a servo that overloaded from, especially we're running high volt servos, right? Yeah, so because it was, it was sudden.
Sure was.
It was, it was alarming.
Yeah, it was literally only, and honestly, the engine could. I was doing full throttle coming that direction, so it wasn't like, I was lollygagging around. I was flying with the Super Bandit, so I'm comfortable enough with that airplane that I was pushing it pretty hard. And then when it could have quit on the downwind, and then something overloaded when I moved it, or it could have shut down and just had enough that when if I moved it, it came back, or something happened, I don't know. But the servos moved. Everything in the tail seemed to have moved. Nothing seems to have been broke or locked. I haven't checked the ones for the ailerons, but I do have all of them. So I don't know, but it was quick. It happened, and luckily for me, it wasn't a total loss because the engine didn't catch fire and it burned everything, because I've seen that happen. So I did recover, some servos and some electronics and, the engine and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a sad day for me. So
wow, man, you have not had,
it's been years.
I cannot remember a plane that was like as new as this one was, that you lost that soon. That is pretty remarkable. You have not had
loss of any airplane. I haven't lost an airplane in probably 10 years. I may have gotten
and like
something
I said,
stupid where I was doing something stupid.
And a new airplane to boot.
That
has not happened in a long, 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 long time.
Yeah, actually, I think I can the last one that happened was my my MXS. I was doing a flat inverted spin, and I really ramped it up, was like hauling it, and the ESC wires came loose, and that shut everything down too, and it pancaked into the ground. But it didn't tear the airplane up. It broke the motor mount or something off of it, and it's still sitting in the other room. I just haven't had a chance to fix it, But this one happened, and all of us were just standing there. It's the first time that, a lot of times guys will kind of come up and talk to you and say, yeah, that was probably a dumb thumb, you can kind of tell when people do stuff, or that, but this was literally from a straightened level to an inverted something, right? And it wasn't like I was doing a knife edge flight and then roll it inverted and then hit the ground. That can be a dumb thing. But I was upstairs, and everybody that saw it, their story was almost identical, right? Did you hear anything? Nobody really came over and said, wow, you screwed the pooch on that. And I was really willing to take, I physically said, I'm not ruling the fact that I did something to the sticks to make it do something. And almost every time I said that, the guy, whoever I was talking to, would be like, that didn't happen. I guarantee you that didn't happen. You don't go from straight and level to
it was
what happened there.
Sudden and violent. And you weren't dumb thumbing it like that. That's
Yeah. So most people were kind of like, we've been watching you fly. You weren't dumb thumbing nothing, but it just, I think the other thing too, Shannon was standing there, but when the airplane went, I recognized it immediately. It wasn't like I was going through a maneuver and then like, oh. It was like when it went, it was like, bam. Yeah. It was too late. And I was just like, I don't know what just happened, but it got, it left, it departed control flight. It
is kind of ironic, because normally people are shoving a receiver in your hand, and going, or a transmitter in your hand going, it's all yours, Mike. And then, they're walking away.
It's right. Exactly.
Yeah. And like you're spotting for them. They're like, hey, Mike, take this. What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, it was disheartening, and it clears the table for another project, I guess. But I was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. So.
Hey, so remember that conversation you had with your wife just 2 weeks ago?
What's that?
Well, you had a little conversation with her and said, "Hey, honey, I think I'd like to buy this plane."
That's true.
She goes, well, how much is it?
Yeah, the F-15 that we were going to buy 3 That's right. Now you mention it, I have room now. I got rid of one.
So now you just need to go mope around her.
That's true.
I should do that. Charlie's going to go, what is wrong with you? Nothing.
Just go get that thing and just stop talking.
I cannot believe that plane. I just got it and got it flying perfect. And it went in like that. Oh.
Yeah. Well,
Christmas
it was sad.
is coming. Christmas is coming. Oh, if I could just this hole in my heart.
They're gonna go see Santa at the mall. Sit on his lap.
It's perfect. That's sad. Yeah, no doubt.
So your buddy is willing to give your wife a call and go, you know what, make him happy.
Yes.
He's you got to get him something for Christmas because it's pissing me off. I talked to this guy and he's just beeping on the phone. He's talking about his plane. Look, you need to get him this. So I can start planting.
You can plant the seeds. Yeah, I know you're good at that. I don't know. We kind of run out of time. We got to go, but I will tell you that my heart is not as heavy because it wasn't. I really kind of internally feel like it really wasn't something that I could control. I don't know why that is, but Shannon had the same thing. When you had your kind of something went loose. And for me, whenever I do something dumb and I put an airplane in, then that's me feeling like, crap, that's my fault. I destroyed it. But in this particular one, it's one of those things that we'll never know. Right. I mean, nothing gave it away, and it just, everybody that witnessed it, and there were a lot of people that witnessed it because I was only up there by myself and Patrick. So there were a lot of pilots that were standing in the pits watching the two of us fly. And I would have suspected that at some point in any of that conversation, someone would have said, "Hey, I saw what you did, and you probably caused it because of this or this." And nobody did. No, everybody was like, "Yeah, that was that." They were just dumbfounded. Even the Horizon guys, and they came over, and everybody was very apologetic, but they're like, "Yeah, man, we watched it and we don't know what happened." So everybody has an opinion, but most people think that it was probably a lockout, and I'm not sure, but I'm not discounting that either. So who knows?
I don't know, man. You could have said something to the Horizon guys and said, "Gee whiz, maybe a brand new IX 20 or something might help me." Or maybe the latest and greatest, that you were going to release this year might help me out with this situation.
I don't know about that, but what I will tell you is the Horizon and Spectrum are pretty good. I am going to probably box up my receiver and send it back to them and see if they can find something, because it was a loss, and it would be different if I did something, but I think everybody's kind of in the same boat that something didn't go right. And there's been other instances where, people have had a loss because of something, in the boards or, something. And this is the newest receiver, like the brand new one. So we'll, I'm going to send it in, see what they say, if they can find anything or, something came loose, whatever the case may be. But we'll see. So.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, Jay heard that for the first time. He didn't know about it until just now, so this is kind of a shock to him. So yeah, but I'll send. I think Shannon has some pictures, maybe, or if not, I'll send it to him. You can post it on our Facebook page. But for now, I think we're gonna kind of close it up
with a sad heart.
Yeah.
With a sad heart. And if anybody feels like they want to contribute or try to help Mike with his slight problem, hey, it's almost Christmas. This poor guy, look at it. I want to have some joy on his face again.
Exactly. You never know. That's funny.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Well, I think Shannon had to run. We lost him, but for now, I'm Michael in Arizona.
And I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
And we're missing Shannon G from Mesa AZ, but he'll be back with us, I think, here when he logs on. But for now, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.